Good morning and welcome to another week of our Cup of Cheer Embroider-along with Material Girls. Excited to have everyone here today. And are we ready to get started with this week's blocks? This week we are going to be working on gift boxes 1 and 2. These 2 boxes contain zipper pockets in them. We're then going to finish up our Advent pieces. These are the freestanding pieces, just like we did last week with our bird and our other little units, our snowman and our candy cane. Kind of the same concept, except this week we're working with the heart, the holly, the tree, and the mug. And we're going to be quilting filler block sections 4 and 5. We're going to start with our gift boxes. Gift boxes are a 2-part hooping. Okay, the first part we need to make the front of the actual box or the zipper pocket, and then we'll attach it to our background, which will then stitch around it and put the bow on the top and turn it into an actual zipper pocket. In part 1 of the project, you are going to be able to use either your large oval hoop, your 5x7 embroidery field, or you can use the small clamp hoop. In the second part of the hooping, you can either use the medium clamp hoop or you will need the maxi hoop or a hoop that will give you a good 6.5 by 6.5 embroidery field. Both hoopings we're going to be using the light mesh cutaway. OESD Polymesh is the design, the brand that I use. And part 2 of the design has the quilting design in it if you're quilting as you go, and the embroidery design will be centered over that quilting design. And then when all are finished, both blocks are going to be trimmed to a 6.5-inch square. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at the design. So you will see, if you have your designs, you will have this unit that kind of shows you kind of the outline of the box, and it has the Advent number in the lower right corner. And then you'll see another design that looks more bold, more satin stitched, that doesn't have the Advent number in the corner, and that's hooping 2. Okay, so the design with the Advent number in the corner is part 1, and the coordinating shaped design that doesn't have the Advent number with it is part 2. So we're going to start with part 1. I'm going to go ahead and open that up, and this is what it's going to look like. We do have a little bit of prep work that we need to do for this particular project before we get started. Let's take a look at that prep work. You have a piece of flexi foam that is for this project and a piece of fabric for the bow. We're going to take these and set these to the side. This is for hooping 2. You will also take your 2 larger rectangles, the actual gift box. Okay. We're going to fold them in half, wrong sides together. Okay. And I like to refer to it as like a taco. So we're going to fold it in half like a taco. Okay, not like a hot dog. Okay, so tacos, not hot dogs. So once you have this folded in half, he should be, 5 by 3. Okay, and you'll have 2 of those. On one of the pieces, we're going to open this up, and we're going to apply a piece of fusible woven to one side. So I cut a piece of fusible woven that's 3 by 5. I opened up, I butted it up to my crease, and then I ironed it to one side. This is going to just give a little bit of additional stability to our fabric. This is where our Advent number is going to be stitched. So we're going to use that. Our gift box top is these 2 green rectangles of solid fabric. You're going to turn that over, or one side. There is no right or wrong. We're going to fold a 1-inch fold to one side. And so I'm going to lay this on the ironing board. I'm going to fold up so I have 1 inch from the fold to the raw edge. Okay. And I'm going to do that on both pieces. Okay. So I have a 1-inch fold. You can see those graphics at the bottom of page 41. We're going to go ahead and put neutral color thread in the bobbin. Doesn't matter what we have in there. I am going to go ahead and load the top of my machine with thread that is going to coordinate with my actual gift box. So I'm going to put the coral color in. We're going to do some stitching first on top of this, and then we'll change. So I'm going to go ahead and thread with that coral color. We are going to run color stop 1 directly into the hoop. And once we have the outline of the box, gift box in the hoop, we're going to go ahead and continue with running color stop 2 directly into the stabilizer. And this is going to give us a cut line that we're going to cut on to make room for our zipper. We have this box. We are going to cut that stabilizer away that's inside of that box. But we also need to extend this cut 3/4 of an inch above and below that original placement line. So I'm actually going to put a ruler here, and I'm just going to give myself an idea as to where 3/4 of an inch is, because it's way longer than I anticipate. And then I'm just going to take a pair of scissors. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to cut directly on that stitched line all the way up to my 3/4 mark and all the way down to my 3/4 mark. We are going to take the piece of our gift box that has the fusible woven on it. I am going to unfold it. My fusible woven is in my right hand. I'm going to line up the crease with the cut edge on the right hand side. And I want to make sure that I have my stitching line for my box is covered. And I am going to put a little bit of tape on this. We're going to take this over to the machine. We're going to run the placement or tack down. It's going to kind of hold this area in place. And then we're going to change our thread color and we're going to stitch the number on our gift box. Now once your number is stitched, we're going to take the hoop off the machine. I'm going to switch back to the original color. I have the coral color in here for the next design portion. I'm going to take that tape off. I'm going to tuck this section of the gift box through the opening that I cut to the back. The crease should pretty much fall right there on the cut edge of our stabilizer. I am going to tape that. I'm also going to run some tape down the middle of this. You can do it from the back, you can do it from the top, it doesn't matter. Mostly because what's going to happen next is it's going to come stitch those same lines again that we did to hold the front down. that we're now going to use to hold the back down. And I just want to try to keep the foot from getting caught here when it comes all the way to the edge. So whether you lay it on top or you do it up from underneath, we're going to fold that over. It looks like that. We're going to return the hoop to the machine and we are going to run the color stop. The next color stop is going to run us a placement line so that we know where to put our box lid. I'm going to leave it in the coral color. We're going to take a piece of the prepared green fabric. Now the section that's folded over the 1 inch is now the wrong side. So I'm going to put this wrong side down, covering all of that box it just stitched with the fold lined up with the fold of the box fabric, making sure that all of that placement line was tacked or covered with your fabric. I'm going to leave it in the same coral color because this is going to get covered with a satin stitch and I want to be able to see it for placement purposes, so we're just going to leave it in the coral. Now I'm going to work on the left-hand side of our box. We are going to take the other piece of fabric. We're going to lay the crease on the left-hand side now of the box. On the left-hand opening. And making sure all of that original placement line is held in place. And I'm going to run the tack down that's going to hold that in place. I'm going to pull that off the machine. I'm going to come back here. I'm going to carefully remove the tape. I'm going to pull that box or that fabric, the box fabric, to the wrong side, just like I did on the other side. Crease should line up right at the edge, like that. Once we have this half of our box in place, secured down to the back of the hoop, we're going to return the hoop to the machine and it's going to run, the next color stop is going to stitch us a placement line so we know where to put our lid fabric. Now I'm not going to put a piece of tape here. I'm going to very carefully watch the machine to make sure that the foot doesn't get caught underneath of here, but do feel free, if you're more comfortable or it makes you more comfortable, to put a piece of tape over top of at least this, you know, like top area, because this is the only area that the machine is going to be stitching right now. Now, once that placement line is stitched, we're going to do the same thing with the other green fabric that we did on the first side. I'm going to line up the fold of the fabric at the fold of the box fabric. The 1 inch fold is on the underside. You can tape it in place if you like. I'm just going to kind of hold on to it. And I'm going to stitch the tack down. Here is what our project looks like. We have our 2 pieces of our gift box. They are folded over the stabilizer so that the wrong side looks like this. You can clean up any of your thread tails side. We have the gift box top. Right now, we are going to trim the excess green fabric only from the bottom of the lid. We're going to leave the side and the top there we're just going to come straight across and trim all the way across this top. We're going to return the hoop to the machine. I've changed to green thread. I am going to run the satin stitch. That's going to run a partial satin stitch on both sides of the bottom of our gift box lid. Now, you're going to see that it's going to get very close to that edge, if not go off that edge. So just watch. If you do not have this taped, just watch it. It doesn't have to be beautiful because we are going to be laying a zipper over top of this. Okay, so ultimately it will get covered up, but just watch your machine. When your satin stitching is finished, again, there's what he looks like. Trim this off. I'm not going to clip my knots, so you don't want to trim too close. Remember, you're going to be covering that up. You have a zipper inside of your kit. You have a red one and a blue one. Gift box 1 uses blue. Gift box 2 uses red. The zipper is designed to match the bow that's in the design, but this is your design. You can do as you would please. We're going to take our project. We're going to center the zipper right side up, so you should be able to see your zipper pull. We're going to center the zipper right over that opening. Okay. My zipper pull is going to be up at the top, and I'm going to take some tape, and I'm going to tape this in place. She talks about taping over the a particular area. I didn't really find an issue with the machine because it's going to sew down one side and then jump over and sew down the other. It's not going to cross across this yet. Okay, so once you have this taped in place, we're going to change the thread color on the machine over to be whatever you want to top stitch it in. So I've changed it to blue. And then we're going to run the next color stop. Now I would run this next color stop slow, okay, so that if you need to adjust the zipper as you're going along, you can. It's much easier to do that if the machine is stitching slowly versus stitching at a very fast rate. Now when your design is finished, we're going to take it off the machine. We are going to remove all the tape and we're going to pop it out of the hoop. We are going to trim around the edge, removing the excess stabilizer only. Okay, we're not cutting any of the fabric, any of the zipper off. We're leaving everything there. And we're just going to remove the stabilizers. Fold that up out of the way. It looks just like that. That is now part 1 is complete, and we are ready to move on to part 2. Now in part 2, just like we did last week with the mug, and what else did we have? Mitten last week. We are going to kind of do the same thing. So we need to open up the quilt design that's going to go behind our gift box. So in gift box 1, it is the stockings that are hanging up there. And we're going to run through and we're going to quilt that project just like we would, and we have been, with quilting the background quilting. Okay, so we'll open up the background quilting design. we can go ahead and combine our other design to it. And this time we want the design that has the bow in it that matches the shape of the box that we just did. So we don't want to grab this box when we're working with the applique of number 1 because it's a different shape. So I'm going to do that one. And then we're ready to go to the machine and run through the quilting portion just like we have done in the past. Okay. The magic of I'm quilted. All the magic that's there. Okay, let me just move the camera a little bit here for us because this hoop is a little bit bigger. Remember, we're working in either the medium clamp hoop or the maxi hoop for this design because of the background quilting. If you're not working in background quilting and you're going to quilt this after the project is finished, you can use the large oval. Okay. First step of this design is to work through appliquing the bow. Okay. The bow has flexi foam. Okay. So we're going to run a placement line. We're going to put our flexi foam down. We're going to tack that in place. We're going to trim it. And then we're going to run the placement line for our fabric, put our fabric down, tack it down, and trim that. Okay. So you're going to work through appliquing the foam and the bow for this project. Once your flexi foam is appliqued and your fabric has been appliqued down covering up the flexi foam, we're going to return the hoop to the machine and we're going to run the color stop to cover stitch the bow for our gift box. Once your bow is finished, we're going to go ahead and run the next color stop, which is a placement line. And then while we run that placement line, let's take a look at what we need to do, because the next step is going to be putting this onto the project that we have stitched. It's just like the mitten and the mug that we have done in the previous week. We're going to be putting a pin straight down through where this tack down meets the satin stitch. So you can come straight down from the top. You can use pins. You can use thumbtacks as long as it's a longer ended thumbtack. You may find this easier at the ironing board where you can keep those pins straight up and down on it. So we'll get that placement line finished. We'll pull this over here. This is what will come off the machine once you run that color stop. We're going to be matching those pins, okay, or thumbtacks or whatever you're choosing to use. We're going to be matching them to the point right here where the lid meets the box. Okay, so now I know I had two thumbtacks here at one point in time, and now I took it out and now I only have one. It's where they grow legs and move. Okay, so I'm setting this down. I'm gonna match my thumbtack to that point. You can also do this if you wanted. You could do this from the bottom up. I think it may be easier to come up from the bottom. So let's try this if you're using a thumbtack. You're using pins, go from the top down. I've got my thumbtacks coming up from the bottom right at those intersecting points. And I'm going to take my fabric and I'm going to do the same thing to bring my thumbtack up through that same point. Okay. Now the zipper needs to come down the middle of that line. So you have your line there. So that zipper is going to come down. I'm going to give everything a tape. I'm going to tape everything down nice and good. So that when I turn this over and take my thumbtacks out, this doesn't move. We're going to return this to the machine. I'm going to slow the machine down really slow because what I like about this that's different than the other ones that we did is that this is going to stitch basically an outline of the gift box. So I'm going to know right away if my tack down that holds this to my background fabric doesn't line up with this, that my satin stitching is not going to be good. Okay, so I'm going to slow the machine down and I'm going to watch very carefully how it sews, and if I need to, I can manipulate this while the machine is stitching. Now I have the coral color thread in. I'm just watching as it goes. I can kind of pull up or out if I need to make sure that things are going to line up. Pretty happy with that. I'm going to speed this one up. And then I'm going to slow it down again when I get it up here to this top. My main concern is right here, where the two satin stitches are going to need to come back together. Once I'm happy with it, it's going to go around it a second time. I can just speed it up and let it go. We are going to take the tape off of the top of the zipper up here. I'm going to remove the tape. I'm going to unzip the zipper about 3/4 of the way down. So I'm going to get it so that it lands about the middle of my box. You can put a piece of tape over it if you want. The next color stop is just going to stitch the zipper shut. We're going to remove the hoop from the machine and we're going to do some trimming. while I trim, I'm going to talk about something. Now, last week, some of you had challenges with the cup, especially at the top of the cup, where it was coming off one layer onto two layers. We've also got the thickness this week of this zipper that is going to be satin stitched over. You have a setting in some of the Berninas about adjusting fabric thickness, and that will help adjust the height of your presser foot and do a couple of other adjustments for you. So we're going to trim all the way around the outside of this. We're going to get the zipper off, both top and bottom. We're going to get rid of the extra gift box and all the extra gift tag. And again, we're going to trim as close as we can, just like we've always done. You are going through multiple layers of fabric. You've got a piece of fusible woven on the one side. So there is my gift box, all trimmed up. I'm going to return him to the machine, and the first color stop is going to satin stitch the bottom of the box. Okay, now let me just show you. If you are having issues with that cup or the mitten where it is, fairly bulky that we're coming up and over, the zipper and things like that, you may want to adjust your fabric thickness, which you can find under the gears, embroidery settings, and it looks like this little, I call it a Swiss cake roll, like a Little Debbie Swiss cake roll. So we would touch that. And if your machine is set at 4, just go to 7.5. And that will kind of raise your presser foot, make a few adjustments for you to see if you can clear that stitching a little bit better. If you don't have the ability to adjust that via that button, you may have the ability on your machine to adjust that with a knob of adjusting your presser foot pressure, and usually it's a knob on the side of the machine. I'm going to watch this because it is thick. I'm going to watch it do, that satin stitch that goes down both sides. It does the straight stitches, and then it does a zigzag. I'm going to kind of watch when it does that zigzag, because I want to make sure if I need to trim, I do so before it satin stitches. So here it is doing the zigzag. I'm watching it. I'm looking to see if any of the fabric is lying to the outside of the zigzag. If I have anything sticking out outside the zigzag, it's going to show in the satin stitch. So I can take a moment, I can pause the machine, I can try to get in there and trim it up a little bit more before it satin stitches. And the satin stitching around the bottom of your box is done. You're going to change your thread color to the same color that you satin stitched the bottom of your lid with. And you're going to run the final color stop. finished, we're going to go ahead and take him out of the hoop, and we're going to trim him to be a 6.5 inch square. You're going to repeat this entire process for gift box 2. Gift box 2 looks like this one here that you see. Just uses a different color zipper for a different color bow, as well as a slightly different shape. So don't just repeat the box that we just did, because then you'll have 2 number 1s. We want a number 1 and a number 20. So we have a square and kind of a slightly angled. I'm going to take my 6.5 inch orange pop here. I'm going to line him up. Pop this one around it. There are the 2 gift boxes for this week's blocks. And those zippers function. They are functional pockets for you to put goodies inside of. Again, pages 41 through 46 repeat all the instructions here. You also have digital instructions on your CD for this particular block, so you can zoom in a little bit closer for seeing those directions for meeting what points you're matching and things along that lines. But it's just like we did with the mittens and the cup that we did last week. The next few projects, the next few ones, I'm not going to stitch out because they are done exactly the way that we did our Advent pieces last week. We did the bird, the snowman, and the candy cane. Okay, we're going to be repeating the same process with just different shapes. So first one up is going to be the Advent heart. The Advent heart is designed to hold the little music box that goes on the very last section of the quilt. It's done with wash away stabilizer, and it will fit in a 4x4 hoop. The one main difference about the Advent heart here is that in the back there is a piece of felt that is put there, not covering the entire piece. She stitches you some little placement lines, but designed to only cover a portion of it to hold the music box. So it creates a pocket. Okay, that we'll actually hand stitch some clips to this that then clip on to the actual quilt. But there is a 3 by 5.5 inch rectangle of white felt that will get used as the pocket for this project. Okay, so that will be our Advent heart. The next Advent piece we have is our Advent holly. The Advent holly is done the same manner, 4x4 medium hoop, wash away stabilizer, and then we are using a piece of prepped backing for the Advent holly that has a piece of Velcro stitched to it. Is already there for us. And we will also do the same steps for the Advent tree. So 4x4 hoop, wash away stabilizer, and he also has a prepared Advent backing for him with the piece of Velcro on the back. And then the same for the Advent mug. The Advent mug is a little bit bigger. He's going to require either a small clamp hoop or the large oval. Again, wash away stabilizer, and the backing on him will also have a prepped piece of Velcro. Okay, so there's a Velcro dot, Velcro dot, Velcro dot. He didn't quite get centered where I wanted him. It was probably too late at night, but when you are positioning the Velcro dot on your Advent holly, he should go over the area where the button is at. This is going to be just fine for where it sticks to the quilt. I'm not overly concerned about it being exactly over the button. I actually think being a little offset will make stitching the button on easier, because there is a red button that we will stitch to this holly as well. Those are the 4 Advent pieces that we will make this week, in addition to our 2 gift pockets. And then lastly, we are going to be stitching out the filler blocks for sections 4 and 5. Please note that in section 4, step 1 is a 3 2.5-inch square unit that is pieced together prior to quilting, and that in section 5, unit 1 is a pieced 2.5-inch square unit also sewn together prior to quilting. So that you can see here, there is our pieced units for section 4, and then section 5, our pieced unit, and this piece as well. Just pay close attention when you are selecting your designs for this, because there are designs that are both horizontal and vertical versions of the same design. We want to make sure that we're using the horizontal lines for this design in section 4, and we're using the horizontal tree and the vertical tree. Okay, so don't just, I mean, it's not going to be the end of the world. For the most part, we can rotate the block or go with it. If it ends up upside down, it's okay. And the same with the filler blocks in section 5. We want to make sure that we're using the vertical designs for the Christmas design and the vertical design for the lines for us to do. And then, just like we've done in the past, we will get those stitched and then trim them up. I have created you a checklist that you can find in the video description or in the comment section of this video, if you again are a person who likes to check mark things off, especially if you don't have a lot of time to do them all at once. This will just kind of keep you on track and not have to come back the next day and be like, where do I need to do which block am I on? This will help keep you organized. And we will be back next week, Wednesday, October 25th, for the next session. Next week, we are going to be construction workers. We are going to build some houses next week. So a lot of blocks with the house blocks, very much like the cups and the gift boxes. There are multiple hoopings to each house block, because all of the doors and windows are dimensional or are pockets. So lots of things for next week. Well, I hope you have a great week of stitching and look forward to seeing you back here next week. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.